And Jim.
And welcome back to another Meteorology Monday. Today
we are going to go over the Meteorologist Reacts for the long-anticipated Geostorm.
You guys know the drill. On to clip number 1. Hold the bicep.
Okay, at that point, I thought somebody was throwing a snowball at him. I thought there was going to be a big, huge snowball fight in Russia. No.
We go the ray from the space thingy, destroying the world.
This is right out of an Avengers movie.
Ultron, is that you?
And then just shuts down.
Hey, we've killed enough people today.
Okay, so our first clip of Moscow going from sub-freezing to
nice
microwaved. So Geostorm is the storyline revolves around governments setting up these satellites to control the weather. So number one right there, how realistic would that be?
I mean, the sun controls a lot of our weather, so introducing a ton of incoming solar radiation or knockoff solar radiation would change the weather. There would be differences. Obviously, as you can see from here, it would go from snowy to microwave, but they didn't really show anything else.
No, but it was enough to give you that feeling of, okay, the plot is... We're going to microwave a small portion of Moscow here with a laser.
Remember that other movie that had us microwaving the Earth's core?
So with that happening, which is why the snow was falling off the rooftops and stuff because of all the heat.
No snowball fights.
No snowball fights. I was disappointed. You know, such a radical shift. Lasers are very precise.
I feel like it would just blow up the ground right there, and it wouldn't change the entire climate of all of Moscow.
Right, right. You know, and that laser was coming down with a lot of precision, and for it to melt everything hundreds of yards away, I don't know if that's realistic, especially when we use lasers as very precise instrumentation, unless the satellite is something different. But it shows the satellite shining a beam down. But how much further would the heat transfer out of that beam? Yeah.
You have incoming solar radiation. It spreads out in the atmosphere. The whole job of the atmosphere is to spread out that heat and kind of give you an overall weather change and not specific. It's not like the sun is saying, this one spot in particular is going to die today.
That's right.
It's like the whole job of the atmosphere is to spread out all of that and create this even weather.
I think Avenger material was conceptualized or used in this.
Somebody watched too much Avengers.
Okay, so I don't want this to sound very negative, but this is one of my favorite clips of the movie just because of, if you think about this actually happening, the magnitude and the awe of it actually happening. This is going to be, I believe, a tidal wave that goes through Dubai. That was very impressive to see the computer-generated graphics and stuff like that. But if I was this guy on the camel, running on a camel going away from this huge tidal wave, no hope.
His face! Like, why bother running at this point? But this is an awesome, awesome shot.
I got a shot here that's going to be coming up that I have a question on. Okay, right there. Right there. I have a problem with this. This is the beach. They're facing the water. What is that building doing there? And then you'll see the guy on the 2 millionth floor of that tall building in Dubai looking out in that direction, and there's no building that's out in the middle of the ocean like that. So what is that from? Just had to throw that in. See, look at it. It's way out from the beach.
They have a lot of beaches.
Yeah. What do you think about that? I mean, that was an impressive shot.
That was. So in this case, a direct hit from a laser from a satellite that close in the atmosphere would probably actually give you this kind of result because it's a focused, epicenter for an earthquake and triggering the tsunami and stuff. I think it would have a better effect on the Earth like that than changing the weather in the atmosphere.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
What I found was really interesting was how the water would come in across the beaches and into the city, and it was just pulled out of the Day After Tomorrow.
Yeah, it looks
New York scene.
It looks like the tsunami in New York.
It was just how they just keep pulling from previous things to. Which is okay.
Yeah, I mean, if the Earth is going to be destroyed, this is one of the ways.
That's how it would look.
Props in this department.
Oh, you dropped the egg.
Here we go. We've microwaved the Earth's crust.
Hey, spinning vortex. Tornado, look at how far that thing shoots up.
How does it get spinning? It's not attached to anything in the atmosphere. Wow.
Oh! Gets taken out.
Whoa. Florida summers, am I right?
Mm-hmm. The wipers on the inside of your car. Okay, this is Tokyo. His temperature gauge, they're using Fahrenheit with a small little section being Celsius. And Japan uses Celsius, right?
Yeah.
So you would think the bigger number would be the Celsius scale and the smaller number would be the Fahrenheit scale. But thank you, Hollywood, for Americanizing that for us so that we can tell what the temperature was.
What in the world?
He's bolting away from the city. People are not melting on the sidewalks, okay? So he's bolting away from the city. When he looks down, it's 135 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay, so he's come out of the city, which would mean it would have to be above 135, okay? He's driving down the road outside the city, and all of a sudden, it fogs up. Then he comes to a stop. Then he looks, and it's 135. So how hot was it for the window to fog up, and it's still reporting 135 degrees?
Hot enough
with his wheels not melting off, people not melting into piles of goo. What's going on with this? And it's dropping quickly.
It's almost like they were like, let's take this most outlandish circumstance and we'll throw humans in it, but we'll give them immunity to everything except for freezing. They can freeze. I don't understand the logic behind how can you think of these things and not think of how they would affect the other things in the movie.
And in Fahrenheit.
Here we go, now it's hailing.
Another scene, hail is just coming down.
Oh!
It's taking people out.
Oh my gosh! Forgot how violent.
Look at that hailstone.
Okay, let's pause it here for a second.
It's the size of half the bus.
Now, if you haven't seen our, what was it, Day After Tomorrow, I believe it was, that had the hail scene. Yeah, if you haven't seen our Day After Tomorrow video explaining how hail this size can't exist, go check it out! You would have to have an updraft of like 1 billion miles per hour in order to keep hail that heavy up in the clouds, which I don't care what you're shooting at the earth, laser beams, the sun, that's not happening. That's not happening. Especially with no supercells, nothing with a strong updraft. It's just like a regular day and then it's hailing.
Yeah, exactly. it's like the satellite is making ice out of thin air and just dropping it. That just doesn't seem realistic at all.
They're not changing the weather, they're like introducing new things, but they never show the satellites actually dropping ice or anything.
No. I mean, I could see where it could affect... We'll even think, okay, maybe it'll cool the air in a certain layer where there's moisture, but in order to... So all that will do is make it snow. It won't make ice, especially
hail
like that. Yeah, it just... not realistic.
That was like hurtling through space at them.
Did you see that one? That was the size of the one that just knocked out the bus.
What? Oh my gosh!
That scene is very similar if you watched Roadrunner and Coyote, where the big boulder comes off the edge of the cliff and the coyote's at the bottom of the canyon and he holds up the little umbrella and that boulder hits him. That's a very similar thing.
Yeah.
So that's plausible.
That's it. Plausible if you're a cartoon.
And now I believe this clip here is the one in Brazil.
We're gonna take out another coastline.
So this is the one where the satellite has malfunctioned and is now turning that area sub-freezing instantaneously, kind of like Day After Tomorrow.
Kind of like Day After Tomorrow. Only there's no hurricane.
Remember,
apparently.
You are freezing running water. And if you've lived up north, the rule they say, if you've got pipes that are exposed in the wintertime and you don't want your pipes to freeze, you let the water trickle so that there's moving water. How cold does it need to get to stop a wave?
A flipping tsunami!
A wave in the sea. Salt water.
Salt water.
Which has a lower freezing point.
Correct.
So...
Instantly! Look at that!
We got planes!
That was... I don't think any influence on the Earth could... Apart from throwing the Earth far away from the sun, could anything like that ever happen? Like maybe if we were to switch places with Pluto.
Instantaneously.
Like that! But not a malfunctioning satellite! I don't know how this could work!
Well, if you take a page out of the Into the Storm playbook on how extreme and unrealistic can you get,
this would be it.
Along with the half a block sized hailstones.
Correct. Now we're in Orlando, Florida. What's gonna happen here? Here we go. Here's some weather. Look at that lightning.
Now Florida is known for its lightning, but not like that. And one strike just blew up the whole arena.
Okay, so Florida is the #1 state for lightning.
It's the lightning capital.
It is the
of
lightning
the United
capital.
States. Or possibly, not necessarily of the world. I think there's a couple of other areas that just outpace them, but they rank up there.
It's definitely up there.
They're #1 in the U.S.
I've never seen this happen though, where a lightning bolt turns into a bomb. Unless it hit something. Let's give them the benefit of the doubt. It hit something in that arena and it blew it up. What would it have to hit to blow up an entire arena besides like a box of C4? do you think that they keep C4 in their basement?
Again, on a scale from 1 to ridiculous, it's leaning toward ridiculous.
It's ranking up there with Into the Storm.
And it wasn't just, it wasn't like 100,000 bolts hits this thing at the same time and blows it up. It's one bolt at a time, zip, 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 and one bolt, that's it. That's the one that took the whole thing out, blows the whole place up and the adjacent area. I don't know what to say with that one.
Wow. That's some cool lightning. So,
That wasn't a lightning storm. That was a paparazzi event. Click, 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 click.
there were clouds.
Well, it does have that going for it.
A lot of movies that have lightning don't even have clouds.
Let's see if we can name a few. There's movies that have tornadoes that have no clouds.
You're not wrong! You're not wrong!
If you'd like to see those movies,
Look at our playlist below!
see any one of our other Meteorologist Reacts videos.
Lightning's still going on. Blowing up more stuff.
Alright, so we've seen in the movie that the satellites are regionalized.
That's why there's a lot of
But they're focusing on a lot of the big cities. Tokyo, Rio de Janeiro, Dubai. The Kennedy Space Center? I mean, that satellite's gotta be throwing lightning bolts across the whole southeast. At least the state of Florida. I mean, because Orlando...
They're not close, are they?
Orlando and the Kennedy Space Center are like 50 miles apart. So,
It's large.
all that continuous lightning is going to be mostly over rural areas because there's not a whole lot between, well, at least when we were there, between the Space Center and Orlando.
Well, they wanted to take out both.
It would have been very inefficient because they would have had more lightning strikes hitting nothing than hitting things.
What you're saying is they should have shown 5 minutes of the middle of nowhere, Florida being hit with lightning.
To make it more consistent.
It would have been the most accurate part of the movie!
I think the reason why they threw it in there was because isn't that how they got up to the space station to fix things? So they were showing the impact of, here's your ride out of here.
It's like, well...
and we're blowing them up with lightning strikes.
Maybe they shouldn't have started off with Orlando. I see what you're saying there.
Yeah, was Orlando even necessary for that? Now, if they had the DNC event in Titusville? Merritt Island? That would be more plausible than putting it in Orlando and then shooting straight over to the Kennedy Space Center.
Now what do we have? We have tornadoes! Oh my god!
Is that technically a multiple vortex tornado, or is that a bunch of tornadoes just circling around each other?
I'm gonna give them the benefit of the doubt and say this is one tornado with multiple vortices. Okay, we're gonna go with that because I can't think about the alternative. It hurts my soul.
So, in the very beginning, it was actually pulling up dirt, and I don't know if it was concrete because it was going a little too fast there at the beginning, but these are very, very strong tornadoes.
Evidently so. I mean, to pull up concrete, as we've discussed, it has to be a strong EF4, most likely an EF5.
And they're all together dancing around.
They're just taking out that one spot over and over.
Keep playing this thing.
Okay, it's sucking that stuff out. That's good. Whoa! Whoa! What did we just say about there being tornadoes without clouds? What? I don't understand how Hollywood keeps thinking that you can have tornadoes without clouds. Like, bro, it takes an entire storm and a wall cloud and then a funnel and then a tornado before this thing can even touch the ground. You can't just have nothing!
I think this part here is after they finished. They're right at a twister where the twisters would come in and they
dissolves.
Tear up their thing, give you 5 minutes of drama, and then all of a sudden just evaporates before your eyes. I think that's kind of the scene right there.
Twisted,
but
there was still gray sky behind them, icy blue!
And the thing is that it would be one tornado and would just dissolve. This was a dozen strong tornadoes, and then all of a sudden they just disappear. So the post-movie review. So, on a scale from 1 to 10, how accurate do you think this movie was? Keeping in mind that it's man-made generated events from a satellite grid orbiting the Earth.
I definitely give them props for creativity. I think it ranks higher than Into the Storm. Because 0.5 is pretty easy to beat. They went with the technology aspect how would technology affect the weather? Obviously, this is different than the world is just ending, like into the storm. Everything's just ending. I think they could have taken into account what makes weather a little bit better before creating these lasers as their method of changing the weather. Because in my opinion, direct laser beams would not change the entire atmosphere over Florida compared to incoming solar radiation from this ball of light and energy that we call the sun. There's a big difference between how incoming radiation affects stuff, and I don't think they quite understood that when they were creating their lasers.
Yeah, because if you notice, you know, a lot of the scenes showed a single beam coming out of a malfunctioning satellite.
Right.
It wasn't a cast of...
It wasn't a bunch of them over half of the
Right.
United States. It was like one.
And the beam was not a cone-shaped, you know,
Yeah.
cast of energy. It was a focused core.
Yeah.
And if it's a beam that's forming tornadoes
How
in
did
certain
it
areas,
form the tornadoes?
Why is it not forming spinning motions up in space?
How did it create thunderstorm type things? Like the hail, the tornadoes. Like that's a mixture of things. It's not lightning. Those things come from, you know, to get storms, you have a bunch of ingredients to make storms that big. You don't just have heat from a direct beam or the sun.
There's a lot of meteorological processes
Yeah.
in place to make these things happen. And
Yeah.
it's complex. It's not simple.
I mean, if it was just sun that we needed to make tornadoes, we would have a lot more tornadoes here in the United States.
Right.
And you'd have tornadoes all over the world if the main ingredient was just direct sunlight or incoming radiation. There's a lot more that goes into the disasters that they picked that you just, in my opinion, you can't get from a singular laser beam. I'll be generous. I'll give it a 2.
Yeah, I'm thinking about that too, in terms of accuracy.
Yeah.
Entertainment value, about maybe a 7,
Yeah.
plus or minus half a point.
It was an end of the world movie. They're all entertaining.
So there you have it, Geostorm.
There it is in all its glory. Or not.
If you liked what you saw, go ahead and leave us a thumbs up, click that subscribe button, leave us a comment, tell us what you think.
Yep, this has been requested by you guys for us to react to Geostorm, so definitely let us know down in the comments what your thoughts are, if you agree with us, if you don't.
And also put in the comments what movie you'd like us to see next.
Yeah, I think we've put a good dent into these end of the world weather movies, so give us some suggestions. As always, you can also follow us over on Instagram and Facebook. We've been posting a lot of storm pictures there recently because we finally had storms! And if you didn't check out last week's video, it was a whole storm chasing vlog, so check that out too. Until next time, I'm Kayla.
And I'm Jim.
Thanks for watching.
And happy click, 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 zip, 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 zip.